The PS4 Pro has been out for a few months now and we've had an increasing amount of games that offer Pro support. Today I'm going to be going through 7 of the best games that take advantage of the PS4 Pro. Minus the final entry, I've avoided placing these in an order because I believe a lot of it is subjective as to which is better or worse. A game that supports the PS4 Pro well doesn't necessarily hit these points, however ideally will 1. Provide a substantial increase in graphical fidelity, be that through extra effects, higher resolution and or HDR. 2. A performance increase in either a higher frame rate or a more steady one. And finally 3. It gives you freedom of choice in terms of mode, such as favouring frame rate or favouring resolution, and doesn't shoehorn you into one or another. To start off with, we have infamous Second Son, which was one of the first main exclusives for the PS4 and was the best looking game on the console for a little while, showing off what the original PS4 could do. Receiving a PS4 Pro patch makes this already fantastic looking game stand out even more, running at 1800p with checkerboard rendering for 4K users. And for 1080p users, you can either super sample downscale or run the game on an unlocked frame rate. Second Son is also HDR enabled, which looks absolutely incredible when using the different powers the game has to offer. It's also worth noting the standalone release, Infamous First Light, also has the same benefits as Second Son. Next up is the Ratchet & Clank remake that released almost a year ago, which was already a fantastic looking game that without any Pro support looks not too far away from a Pixar movie. The Pro patch doesn't give you any options, however the resolution increase of up to 2160p is a big improvement, meaning we get a jaggy-free, crisp image that combined with HDR makes it look almost indistinguishable from an animated movie, showing just how graphically pleasing the cartoon-esque art style can be when done right. Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor released just over 2 years ago, however received a Pro patch that really benefited the game. Shadow of Mordor is great and offers 2 modes, one that favours resolution for 4K users, bumping up the resolution from 1080p to native 4K most of the time, a substantial increase along with the benefits of HDR that really adds to the game's aesthetics. The second mode keeps the game locked at 1080p, however offers slightly better draw distance and less pop-in for example. So for 1080p users you still have the choice of the first mode taking advantage of the super sampling, or can opt for the slightly better performance with graphical additions. Uncharted 4 was arguably the best looking game that released last year, and the latest Pro patch makes it look even more visually stunning. Uncharted 4 on the Pro doesn't bump up the resolution as much as other games, sitting at 1440p, however utilises some fantastic temporal anti-aliasing which does a great job of eliminating edge shimmering, more than making up for it and ultimately making it look better than some games with a higher resolution. On the multiplayer side we also see a bump in the resolution to 1080p from 900p. HDR is also supported and as you would expect a fantastic addition, especially in open outdoor environments where it stands out the most. If you haven't played Uncharted 4 yet, now is a better time than ever. Rise of the Tomb Raider may have released on the Xbox in 2015, however when it hit the PS4 it also received one of the best Pro support so far. One of the best examples of how checkerboarding can produce a game that looks very close to native 4K, giving an extremely clear image. For 1080p users you can take advantage of super sampling, enhanced visuals or an unlocked frame rate. Rise of the Tomb Raider offers freedom of choice and a great choice even if you don't have a 4K TV. Rise of the Tomb Raider is one of the most visually pleasing games of last year, with various modes for you to decide on what you want the game to prioritise, something I wish developers would offer more when it comes to Pro supported games. Up next is Final Fantasy 15, a game many of us were waiting the best part of 10 years for, and despite all the delays it released at a great time if you're a Pro owner. Final Fantasy 15 is one of the best examples of HDR I've seen thus far, making the game look rather washed out and drab when turned off in comparison. The game runs at 1800p using the checkerboarding method, which gives a much sharper, cleaner image. There is the option to favour frame rate, which up until the latest patch held the game at a solid 30 frames per second for those that value performance over graphics. However, the newest patch unlocks it, leaving it hovering around the mid 40s, mostly with the occasional hit at 60. Many are disappointed by the replacement as a locked lower frame rate can be seen as advantageous over a higher fluctuating one. That aside, this is one of the best examples of HDR in the game and showcased what the Pro is capable of. Finally, the best on the list, and not surprisingly, is Horizon Zero Dawn, the flagship game for the Pro and one that doesn't disappoint. Horizon is a beautiful game on an original PS4, however on the Pro it's one of the best games I've ever seen. Horizon successfully uses the checkerboarding method we've seen on previous titles in this list to create a very sharp image. Combine this with HDR that further accentuates the already gorgeous environment and you get a visual masterpiece that needs to be seen in person to really appreciate just how great it really looks, especially for such an open world game with so much going on. Guerrilla Games have always pushed the boundaries on every PlayStation console graphics wise, however they've really outdone themselves with Horizon, and if you needed any reason to justify purchasing a PS4 Pro, this is it. That's it for today's video. Which is your favourite on this list, and would you recommend any further games for the Pro that I wasn't able to fit in the video? If you're in the market to buy a 4K TV, be sure to click the thumbnail to the left to watch my first ever video where I detail what you should look for in a 4K TV and what the best models are. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, give me a like and sub so you can see my future content. Join me again in the next video with the third episode of Gaming Origins.